So I thank you all for coming. I thank you also, Michel and Wolfgang, for accepting me. And Michel and Jean-François, with whom I wrote the corresponding paper. So this paper is talking about the minimization of divergences. Using the divergences and minimizing it, we construct two coupling functions. I will show what it is. One which is well known, which is independence, and another one, determinacy, which is far less known. And after we apply them to a specific cryptographic problem. There are two problems of application in the paper, but there are only one in the slide. Okay, let's go.
No. This one.
So first we begin by the construction of two canonical functions, a coupling function. We give ourselves two margins, the first one which is mu on p elements, and the second one which is mu on q elements. And we want to construct a probability law on p times q elements with the two margins which are respective. For that, we can imagine a lot of way to fill the matrix. Actually, it's like more or less like a Sudoku, and in the continuous case, it will be a copula. But in the discrete case, what we do is we provide two functions that are, in some sense, that we show canonical. The first one is independent, it's the product, and we cut it p times. And the second one is indetermination, we cut it p plus. It's basically the sum of the margins. Not exactly, but we'll do it that. Actually, okay, it will be the only slide like that. The indetermination, it was known before, it's used in the clustering, in some clustering algorithms. And for that, we give ourselves n individuals that we want to categorize according to the modalities that were drawn for each of them on the two variables u and v. And for that, we can have a first way, which is a contingency matrix, which is well known. There is another one whose name is mathematical relational analysis. And notations, it's a binary notation for each of the individual I and j. We put one if for u they have the same modality on x, and on y we put one if they have the same modality on v. This is a way to, like the contingency matrix, to store all the data that we had from the drawings. And with that, we have that we call an agreement when the two matrices x and y are equal, or they are in agreement. So x times y is an agreement, x bar, if I can say, y bar, it's also an agreement, but x and y bar and x bar y, it's not an agreement. And why is it called indetermination? Because it precisely corresponds to having the equality between agreements and disagreements. There are some variations, but it comes from what is written here, and we won't go into details. But basically, what we say that it's called indeterminacy because it's the case of equality between agreement and disagreement. Okay, so now we try to construct it again, and we just forgot the way it was applied to clustering problem. We constructed by projecting the uniform law. So this is a prior guess that we call U, and which is equal to 1 divided by PQ everywhere. We project it on the space respecting the two margins. So L mu mu is the space of probability law that respects mu and mu as margins. So we need to project P into L mu mu. And for that, we use dphi, which is a divergence already introduced in the two precedent papers, actually, and which is once again introduced there, but we won't insist on that. The formula is the same as before. What we want to see that phi is a parameter function. So of course it has some hypotheses. Typically it was said before, but it's equal to 0 in 1, and it's strictly convex because we want to minimize. But in the end, there are a lot of functions. So we need to select some of them, and there is a way to decide which one we select. It's a paper that dates from 30 years ago. So that's what is written here. We can restrict to two canonical ones. It's a key result of Cesar in 1981. The paper is cited in our paper, but I didn't put the reference here. Actually, if you put on the internet Cesar with the name, you will find it easily. And the name is already containing all the main result of the paper. So the question is why we always use these squares or maximum entropy. and it's answered inside the paper. So it's a long paper. We had some hypotheses on the divergences that we want them to respect. And in the discrete case, by decomposing, we finally end up with those two divergences. And now that we selected only two divergences, what we can do is to compute the corresponding solution. And if we do that, it's written, I don't know if you can read, but basically it's written here. We have a prior guess, which is U. We project it using either the entropy DKL or the square deviation D2, that's the two canonical divergences, onto L nu, which is only the respect of the margin, and the third one is the respect of positivity and less than one, but for probability it's quite normal. And we end up having independence or indetermination as solutions. So in some sense, if we go back to the work of César, we can say that those are two canonicals coupling function, but we can invent a lot of them, except we restrict to this one. It's long, I don't know. Okay. So now we will, because independence is well known, we will insist on indeterminacy. And we see a first property. There is a lot of properties, but there is one which is matching reduction, and that we shall see now. So it's linked to the Monge properties. I don't know if you know about Monge properties, but basically it's like for independence with a product, but here it's with a plus. On an indeterminacy matrix like this one, if we extract a 2 times 2 submatrix, like the one which is here with the green and the red part, we have that the cross addition is the same. So 1 plus 1 is equal to 2 plus 0. And we would have the same one. 1 plus 4 is equal to 3 plus 2. Everywhere it's like that. In independence, it's a product. So it justifies the plus notation that is here. If we rewrite it, actually, it's not only for 2 times 2 matrix, it's true for every u, v, and u prime and u prime. We have this formula. Having this formula, what it says is that the difference between the two lines is always the same. So we can extract the difference, which is written here. The difference between the first line and the first line, of course, is 0. But between the first and the second, it's 2, and it's 2 everywhere, from 1 to 3, from 2 to 4, and from 0 to 2. Having said that, we decompose an indeterminacy matrix using the delta that we just introduced. So what we say is that P1V is an arbitrary disequilibrium. Actually, it will correspond to the first line. So I decided, because it's easier in the conference, to have the first line which is minimal. Actually, it's a reordering, so we don't care. But let's have it as an hypothesis. So we have the first line which is minimal, yes. And P1V is the corresponding disequilibrium. Once we have it, we have the delta, which is just the delta that we had in the other side, the difference between the lines. And there is a part of the indeterminacy matrix, which is uniform. So how do we draw using this decomposition? First, U is drawn according to mu, of course, because it is actually respecting the margin. And then we need to draw the V. For the V, what we do is that we play with a coin, which is skewed by the difference, more or less by the difference between the lines. So we can see it here. I is equal to Bernoulli of delta U divided by mu1 plus delta U. Hence, the higher delta U is, the more chance we have to get a 1. And if we get a 1, then V is uniformly drawn in 1Q. Hence, V is drawn according to P1V divided by mu1. So by something which is a disequilibrium and that we don't, we cannot act on. So the only part that is really important is the P1V. The other part is just the uniform. Here on an example, we have the matrix that we had in the first example, except we divided by 27 because we wanted it to sum to 1. It's not really important. We have the delta, which is the same divided by 9. Actually divided by 9 also. Yes, 9 because it's only on the 3. And I is the corresponding Bernoulli. So the disequilibrium is it's this one, 1/3, 2/3, 0. What it is in the end, it's only the disequilibrium on the first line that we normalize to get equal to 1. And so what we say is that there is a part of 1/3 or 2/3 or 0, which is the first disequilibrium. The other part will always be the uniform law. So now if we combine if we put on a figure the way we draw according to indetermination with this decomposition, on this very example, we see that if u is equal to 1, we always draw according to P1V. Of course, because actually the delta is equal to 0. But if we are on u is equal to 2, then 2/3 of the time, V will be drawn uniformly. So there is a big part inside determination, which is actually only drawing according to the uniform law. Oh, sorry. Yes. So this decomposition is linked to the couple matching reduction, which is really enhanced inside indetermination because it comes back to its origin. What is a couple matching? We have a couple on two individuals which is drawn, so U1 V1 and U2 V2. And we say that there is a couple matching if we have U1 equal U2 and V1 equal V2. So that the modalities are the same on the two variables for the two individuals. Actually, if we want to minimize the probability of a couple matching inside LU nu, the best solution is to use, thank you, the indetermination. And it's written in the very beginning because it's written inside D2. If we decompose D2, it's equal to that in the beginning. It comes back to the fact that we chose phi is equal, I don't remember, but something like x minus 1 to the square. And if we decompose, we get this part, which is a constant, plus the sum of PUV square. And the sum of PUV square is exactly the probability of a couple matching. So what we say when we minimize on it is that P plus is minimizing couple matchings inside LU. So we cannot have a better solution. And how is it happening? It's happening so we can leverage on the decomposition we had before. Remember, we first draw mu and then we draw the V. So if U is frequent, so U1 is frequent, then we may have U1 is equal to U2, and we will choose to, indeterminacy, we will choose to draw V as often uniformly as possible. So there will be a big part of uniform if we have a high chance to get U1 is equal to U2. If on the contrary, U1 is rare, then we won't have U1 equal U2. We don't expect it to happen. And so what we will do is that we will hide inside those lines the disequilibrium on V to respect the margins, because we know we won't have a couple matching, since we already know we won't have U1 equal U2. Now let us apply it to the guessing problem. So the guessing problem is an original problem in cryptography. As usually, we have Alice sending a message U to Bob. The message is ciphered inside V. And we decided it's non-deterministic because if we don't, it's not a probable. So she can decide the ciphering she uses with a random coin or anything. Having that, Charlie is in the middle. He observed the V and he wants to get the U. So he has only one trial and it comes out with an order in case there are several trials. So the order is just the way he proposes the message inside the alphabet U. So he first proposes this message, which is sigma V bracket 1. So the first message he decided to propose. And the performance of Charlie is the performance which is written here. It's the probability that he gets the message at the first trial with the order sigma V, which depends on V. So let's work on the strategy of Charlie. The best strategy he can have is to choose to always answer with the message with the highest probability on the margin, knowing that V is equal to V. So this is UV, and this is this one. If we decompose the performance, we can decompose first on the ciphers. So we decompose on the cipher V with the probability mu V because of the margin we assessed at the beginning. We have the sum of the mu V times the probability if we have capital V is equal to this to get the message. If we keep on decomposing, we have the probability PUV times the probability that the first guess of Charlie is the actual message that is U. And eventually, we have to choose only one U. So we know that all of them, so it's either 0 or 1, we have to choose only one, so it's less than the max PUV underscore PUVV. And this is precisely the strategy under, the performance of the strategy sigma V max. So we know that the best strategy is this one. And now we will work on Alice's part. So Alice, she wants to face off Charlie. So she wants to couple the U and the V to reduce the probability that Charlie finds the message. So in the end, to reduce the performance of Charlie. And since Charlie is using this strategy, we know that, it's quite easy to see that we always have the performance of the strategy, which is higher than mu U1. And if Alice chooses indetermination or independence, the two leads to the same performance. The performance of Charlie is this one, which is the minimal. So we know that we cannot do better on Alice's point of view than choosing indetermination or indeterminacy or independence for the coupling of the cipher and of the clear messages. So now on the conclusion, what we did, we introduced the poorly studied coupling, which is indeterminacy, on two ways, so clustering way and the divergence way. We explained the property of couple matching minimization. So first we said it existed and we explained how it works. And we have shown that indeterminacy, as well as independence, is the best solution in the guessing problem. What we need to do after future work is extend indeterminacy because the formula is not always coherent. It can be prohibited, but I didn't insist on that. And we highlight specific application to differentiate independence and indeterminacy. Best way would be to have a problem with indeterminacy is the solution and independence is not the solution. It's not the case of the guessing problem. So thank you for your attention.